Hi, my name is Brett Yancey, and today we're going to be learning about Microsoft Excel and how to create a Pareto chart. My empowerment promise is that by the end of this lecture you will understand how to create a Pareto chart using Microsoft Excel online license version. So, hope you're excited about today's video lecture as I am. Let's get started. So I've created this example problem where we're looking at root causes of cavities. And so what you do is you get your data and you put it into rows and columns, obviously, right? Then you're going to create a cumulative column. So call this one cumulative. I just double clicked my border between my columns K and L to push that out. Now I'm going to go down to this row. I'm going to put in this formula, right? And so I click in here, which is a little formula box, f of x, and I do equals, sum, open parentheses. Now I hold down shift and I click year 1. Oh, I just did everything for me. So that was easy. Oops, that's not right. Let's try that again. So I just clicked D7 plus that, plus that, plus that, plus that, plus that, plus year 7, close parentheses. That's what we wanted. Okay. So then I just drag this down. Go ahead and add some grid lines. Add your grid lines. Okay, so real quickly, all I did was I highlighted this portion by clicking C6, holding down Shift, and clicking L14. Then I go up here to Borders, and I clicked All Borders, and then I clicked Thick Outside Borders. That's just the format that I like. So we created our cumulative column, and what this did is it summed up years 1 through 7 for too much candy, too much ice cream, too much soda, and so on. And so all this did was it summed up those columns within that row and brought the total over here. So let's go ahead and get our grand total. So for this one, I'm holding down Shift. I'm in K7, and I click all the way down to K14. And I'm holding down Shift, and I just left click the mouse. Now I press, oops, that didn't work. One more. Go down to K15, Alt plus. And what this did was it summed it up to 153. And also you can see if I just highlight these, oops. If I just highlight those, usually Excel will show your sum down here, but in this case it's not. But in any case, 156 is right. Sorry about that, I made a mistake. Now we're going to make a percentage column. And so all I did is I pressed Control B, I made it bold. And what we're doing is we're taking this cumulative for this category of too much candy. So I do equals and the f of x up here, 3 divided by the sum of all the possible root causes of all the 7 years, which is 156. Now, when I copy this formula over these other rows, I want it to stay on 156. And so to do that, you have to use the $sign so Excel knows to keep it there. I'll show you that here in a second. So I do $K, $sign 15, enter. And so what this does is it brings our percentage for 3 out of 156. And I drag it down. And if you can see, it dragged this cell down, but it kept this cell the same. And that's why we use that $sign. Real important feature in Excel. So I drag it all the way down. I highlight all my percentages. I go up here to Format, Percentage. Perfect. Okay. And for our purposes today, we're going to move the decimals over. So I do decrease decimal. All right. So now, have we gone through all the steps? We created a new column for cumulative results. We summed those results. We created a new column for percent. All right, so now we get to filter the results. So different Excel licenses, you go about doing things differently. For the online license version of Excel, I like to just break my data out. And to do that, I just insert. So I create a new sheet, call it, my worksheet or problem solution, right? So that's what I just did. So I'm going to grab all this, I want all this. So all I did was I clicked here, left clicked, hold down Shift, click the bottom, which is C6 through C14, Control C. I'm going to go over here, I'm going to grab my cumulative and my percentage. So I double click this. Hopefully I line this up right. Oops. And when I paste it, I right click and I do paste values. Cool. So now we're going to all borders, thick outside borders, highlight those two, and I just clicked C4, hold down Shift, D4, Control B, make it bold, double click, double click. Now we're going to do the same thing we just did and create a percentage, decrease that decimal point. All right, so now we're ready to create our Pareto chart, and Excel makes it pretty easy to do that. So we're just going to highlight our data. I click B4, I hold down Shift, and then I click D12, and I'm left clicking the mouse. Now I'm going to click Insert. And when you click Insert, all these different things came up that Excel will take your data and put it into whatever format that it can derive from it, okay? And so I'm going to Insert Chart. Now, as a side note, Excel has this cool recommended charts. And so they have a cool pivot chart, cumulative and field, percentage appear highly correlated, right? And so it has some cool stuff that, depending on what data you're working with, sometimes there's value and worth looking at these recommended charts because maybe they'll have a better recommendation than what you would normally use. But for today, so if we reference our steps, we need to filter our results from largest to smallest in the cumulative column. So I go over here, I click C4, which is cumulative, the title cell. I go over here where it says sort and filter, I left click, I'll do descending. And so now we have the descending order for most cumulative to least cumulative, right? Now I'm going to highlight this, and all I did is I clicked the top left corner of the table, I hold down Shift, and I click the bottom right hand corner. Now I click Insert. I come over here, I skip over the great recommended charts we just discussed, and I click Insert Chart. I left click, and now I'm going to go ahead and click Pareto. So the Pareto chart comes up, and if we look at it, what do I see? Well, it's telling us how many instances where too many milkshakes caused a cavity, which was 62 over 7 years. Not enough brushing caused about 30, too much ice cream caused about 30, not enough flossing caused about 15, And then there were a few other reasons that were all less than, 10%. And so this bar graph, this bar, is the number of instances, and this line is the percentage. So when do we hit 80%? Pareto rule, right? The 80-20? Well, about 80% of our problems are from too many milkshakes, not enough brushing, and too much ice cream. So that's just a real high-level overview. Now let's go ahead and edit this, format this graph. And so to format it, I right-click it, I do Format. Let's make sure we're following our directions. Title your chart, add data levels, make an observational conclusion. So I right-clicked it, I select my chart, we're going to give it a chart title. This one will be Root Causes of Cavities. Total 7 years. Over 7 years is a little excessive. Probably root causes of cavities, I would accept that. Wouldn't need to go into that much detail. And you can mess with the font if you wanted to. You could change the fill of the text. Like let's say we wanted it to be blue. Oops. Or we wanted a blue box. We wanted our text to be red. Cavities bad, red. Okay, so that's just some stuff you can do. You don't need to do any of this for your submittals. Alright, so we have a title. I like the data level. I like the data labels. That's fine. I'm good with these colors and the scale of this chart. So all those things I'm fine with. And let's go back to our directions to make sure we're doing everything correctly. Make an observational conclusion. Well, I'll close this. So as a business, I'm doing this from a business perspective. Let's assume me getting cavities was a business problem. And so as a business, we need to stop drinking so many milkshakes, start brushing more at least 3 times a day, and stop eating so much ice cream. If we do those 3 things, the vast majority of problems that we are having with annual cavities will go away. And as a follow-up to a lesser extent, we need to also focus on flossing on a daily or weekly basis to really reduce those cavities. And so, just to recap everything we did and tie it all together, what did we do? Go back to the example problem. We were given a data set with root causes of cavities over 7 years. We summed up each of those 7 years for each of those categories into a column. We summed that column. Then we created a percentage, and that percentage is cumulative divided by the total. We used the $ function to make sure that that cell would hold while we dragged that formula down to all of these categories / columns. We then took our information and then we aggregated it into the 2 relevant columns for our chart. And you don't necessarily have to do that. I just think it's easier to manage from a process, especially with this licensed version of Excel. And so we cut out our column data, we cut out our cumulative and percentage columns, and then we pasted it in here. And we highlighted everything. We inserted our Pareto chart, right? And then we formatted the chart and we gave it a title. We could have changed the font color, the font type, the size. You could even do things like add a legend or mess with the series information or the vertical and horizontal axis scales, but we decided not to do any of those things today. And if also as a takeaway, if you wanted to change the color of your Pareto line, you could do that as well. So with that, we'll go ahead and conclude this. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how to create a Pareto chart using Excel and how to, given a block of data, how you can effectively do that. So thank you, everyone. I hope this is helpful. Have a great day.